Hello guys, welcome back to Mac Music Review. Before I hop into the actual review, just wanted to say that today we're going to be talking about the album Heroes for Sale by Andy Mineo. Before we jump into the review, just want to say there's going to be some stuff down in the description for this video, stuff that you're going to learn about the channel, where I get my reviews from, how to request an album, all that good stuff for me to review, and all that good stuff is going to be down in the description. Just head there if you're interested to know more about the channel. Heroes for Sale is the debut album from the Christian rapper and Reach Records member Andy Mineo. Andy Mineo is one of the most well-known, one of the most popular and commercially successful Reach Records rappers. He's definitely one of the heads of the label. And this album, I'm pretty sure it did fairly commercially well. Like, I'm sure it charted on some Christian charts, maybe even somewhere on the Billboard 200. But this album is not like, you know, it doesn't have any real hits on it. Nothing as big as his song, You Can't Stop Me. But still, this album did make some money. It was not a total flop. In secular music, in the world of secular rap music, you see these, like, crazy long albums. An artist will, like, especially, like, you'll see this with, like, Migos or literally, like, anybody. But they'll do albums that have, like, 20 songs on them, like, 17 songs on them. Just, you know, it's the efficient way to make money is to make as many songs as you can to have more streams and the most likely chance of getting a hit. And on this album, Christian rappers don't tend to do that. But on this album, Andy Mineo has 16 songs and the runtime is 1 hour and 5 minutes. This album has, this album has a ton of content, long runtime, some long songs, and a lot of songs. So, this is a pretty big album. Annoyingly, the guest artists are not listed on, I don't know if they're listed on iTunes, but I listen to things with Amazon Music, and for some reason, the guest artists, the features on this album are not listed, but I was able to catch a few of them. On the song The Saints, you're going to hear KB on there, the other Christian Reach Records Christian rapper. You're going to hear Lecrae on the song Uno Uno Seis, 116, the big, you know, like their catchphrase. Also on Caught Dreaming, For King and Country makes an appearance, the huge, larger-than-life sounding Christian contemporary music duo. There's some other guest artists on this album, but these are basically the biggest and most noticeable for me. And it's worth noting that this album feels like more of a solo project than Neverland. It's really Andy Mineo, and stuff about him is the main focus of this album. Now, let's get down to the meat of this album. What does it sound like? What are the lyrics saying? Is this, like, a for fun? Is this a really fun, lighthearted record? Is it a, like, you know, very serious, mature record? Is it, like, very acoustic sounding? Or is it, like, very electronically focused and very modern sounding? We're gonna go break that down. The lyrics on this thing are pretty mature. For most of this record, this is a kind of a heavy album. It deals with a lot of things. A lot of all of the lyrics on this thing, I should say, are inspired by Andy Mineo's faith. And a lot of them are very personal. For example, on the song Bitter, Andy Mineo talks about his not so great relationship with his dad. Who seems to not care a whole lot about Andy Mineo. He says his dad cares, you know, like, more about sports and stuff. And he talks about that on other songs of his, like Family Photo from The Arrow, one of his newest projects. But he talks about that. Superhuman, he talks about how he often gives in, I don't know if gives into lust is the right thing to say, but he very easily falls for women, and he's just kind of, he gives a lot of attention to that, and I don't know. But you're going to hear a lot of different mature themes and lyrics. On Death Has Died, the last song, he talks about, I think, terrorism, and how crooked and broken the world is, and the solution to all that. So, a lot of mature lyrical content on here. You also have some more lighthearted breaks from the action. For example, the songs Curious isn't super duper mature. It has a little bit of wisdom you can take out of that, but it's more like a love-focused song. And then you have things like the most fun, careless song on here is Ayo. It's about him riding his skateboard. The opening verse of this thing is about him kicking it on a board. That, I was gonna sing it, but I can't. But it's funny. And it's very, very careless. You also have Uno Uno Seis, which is mostly just a fun track, and the song The Saints. These are kind of lighthearted, fun songs. Oh man, the wind! I'm gonna get blown away! The music on this thing, the music and the influences and the styles on here have a lot of different like influences and motivations and different things it touches upon, but the most prevalent form of music on here is very electronically focused. These songs are very modern. They're very rooted in like electronic elements and such. You can hear this on like nearly all of the songs, some form of electronic music like as the main beat or very prevalent in like the chorus or whatever. You're gonna hear a lot of electronic elements, and that's the main musical sound of this record. A few of these songs have a very epic feel. They really kind of just sound awesome. A few examples would be Still Dreaming with For King and Country. This song basically barely has a verse. Andy Mineo has done this before, where the whole focus is this music and having this big sound. Also, the song Superhuman has this really long like intro, which sounds, you know, it's a female singer and she's like singing all dark and scary, and the music is all dark and scary, and it sounds pretty epic. So Andy Mineo occasionally goes really epic on this thing, and occasionally goes really weird and unexpected, like on the song, what's it called? Oh, Wild Things. He takes Wild Things, the chorus is a line from The Wizard of Oz, and then it also, you know, references the wild things from the book where the wild things are, the children's book, and then it has heavy metal-esque screaming at the chorus, just screaming. You just need to hear this song. It is very strange. So Andy Mineo, different sounds going across this album. I am happy to report that this is not, at first glance I was like, oh no, Heroes for Sale. This is not my first exposure to Andy Mineo. It actually took me a long time to get around to listening to this album. I was a big fan of Uncomfortable. That was the first album I heard by him. I just listened to that a lot, but when I finally got to this, I was like, is this going to be bad? Is this going to be corny? Came out in 2014. Wasn't the best time for Christian rap. I don't know. What is this going to sound like? But it is, I'm happy to say this is not a quantity over quality album. This is, in fact, lots of quality here on this album. The music on this album, for some of it sounds a little bit outdated, and some of it sounds like he's trying a little bit too hard. The album is a tad bit overproduced. Like, there's so much sounds going on, there's very little subtlety, but mostly it works in Andy Mineo's favor, and these songs really do. Most of these songs do sound really good. Some of the biggest highlights on this album are the songs Superhuman, the first one, and you got that 1-2 punch of Superhuman and Ex Nihilo. These both sound really great. Then you have Caught Dreaming with For King and Country. Really does, like I said, epic song. It sounds really good. Wild Things Earlier is a huge hit. It's probably my favorite song on the album. I wouldn't say easily my favorite because there's a lot of good stuff here. But Wild Things really, honestly, pretty good song. Sounds really good. And you also have Cocky. That's another hit. This one sounds really good. And honestly, a lot of these songs are really good. These are just some of the highlights, but honestly, very well-produced album for the most part. Really good sounding album for the most part. The lyrics on this album, as I already said, they're very mature. A lot of them are very personal. A lot of them are very honest and kind of transparent, and really, that's one of the best things about Andy Mineo, and I would say a lot of the people on Reach Records, is their lyrics, they're not at all like braggadocious. I mean, they are a little bit when they want to be, but they're also very humble. They can point out a lot of the issues in our world, a lot of the flaws, and they can point to hope. And they just, honestly, they're just really honest and transparent, and that is no exception. On this album, almost every song on here, lots of really great lyrics. This album has tons of different interesting themes and concepts going on with the lyrics. A lot of interesting and very solid messages. Points out a lot of problems and issues that you may not have thought about, and offers solutions to a lot of problems and issues you may not have thought about. So, honestly, lyrically, it's a very mature, very strong record. If I had to have a downside, if I really had to pick a bone with this record, it would be the songs The Saints and Uno Uno Seis. These are basically feature songs where they're just kind of, you know, when a rapper does a feature song, it's not normally to be like serious or meaningful, and they're just supposed to be really for fun, and they're not a ton of fun. These songs are kind of like overly long, and they don't have a great they don't have a really great punch. They sound a little bit corny in the lyrics and the music. So, and there's a little bit of corniness throughout the album, but most of it can be overlooked because the lyrical content is really good and most of the production is really good. But yeah, The Saints and Uno Uno Seis, not the best songs on here. All in all, Andy Mineo's Heroes for Sale, his studio debut as Andy Mineo. He used to be known as C Light. I don't know if any of his stuff is on iTunes or anything as C Light, but this is the debut, Reach Records debut for Andy Mineo, and it is a great debut. This is a super solid album. Not amazing. It's mostly largely high quality. This album is largely high quality music and lyrics, but there is a little bit of corniness in the lyrics and a little bit of corniness in the music. Hasn't aged the best, but still a very largely enjoyable album. I will have to give this thing a 4 stars out of 5 rating. This album is 4 out of 5. Do you like this album? Or do you dislike this album? Is it great? Or is it trash? I know a lot of people cannot stand Christian rap music. If you're watching this video, you probably I don't see why you'd be watching this or how you would have found this video if you don't like Christian rap or you haven't listened to this album or listened to Andy Mineo. Honestly, I think it's a pretty great album. This is really solid. I don't think it's Andy Mineo's best work, but I think it is some really great stuff nonetheless. I highly recommend this thing. Go check it out. What do you think, man? What do you think? This is a different angle, actually. We haven't done it from this. I don't think we've done it from this angle. What do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? I still like my hat. This is a different jacket. All right, it's cold outside. I'm gone. Thanks for watching.